Okay, so let's add one enemy that flies at us and always gets regenerated. And later we're going to come back and replace all this stuff with objects so that it's a little bit cleaner and so that we can extend it more easily. But for now, let's make a whole new set of variables. So instead of all these variables, we're going to call it enemy X, enemy Y speed, and then the enemies are going to be circles, so I'm going to call it enemy diameter. You'll have to forgive me, I'm a little bit anal about this. Okay, cool. Alright, and the same way we did before, of course we need to set all of this stuff inside setup. So I want my enemy to start off, oh hold on, my enemy shouldn't have a Y speed because I just want my enemy to fly at me horizontally. So my enemy is going to have only an X speed, and that's it. So enemy X is going to get, like, let's make it 630. So that's off the right-hand side of the screen. Let's make enemy Y be something like, let's make it be 520. Think about where that is on the screen, and think about why would I have put it right there. Let's make enemy X speed be -6, so that it's headed to the left. And let's make enemy diameter be 30, 20. Alright, so there's my enemy stuff. Down here in draw, let's have my enemy move. I'm going to add some comments here. So this is move the character. And down here, it's going to be move the enemy. So if I want my enemy to move, I need to change my enemy X equals enemy X minus enemy speed, X speed. So that's moving my enemy. And of course I need to draw my enemy. So I'll say ellipse, enemy X, enemy Y, enemy diameter, and enemy diameter. What does it not like? Am I misspelling enemy? Yes. Okay. So I think this should just display my enemy. Oh, I don't see him. Well, now we have to think about what's gone wrong. We set the enemy X, that looks good. We set the enemy X speed, that looks good. Enemy X changes, that looks good. We're drawing an ellipse. It all seems good. So here's a good thing to do when you're not sure what's happening. I think I know what all these variables are, but I'm not absolutely sure. So I'm going to put a print statement that's going to print out enemy X, and then a comma. I just want to print out my X, because I can look at that and see, does it start out at something large and does it get smaller over time? Oh, it's not. Look, it's getting larger over time. So that tells me that it's headed to the right for some reason. It's just continuing off the screen. Ah, and now I know why. Enemy X speed was -6. I am subtracting -6. So I want to add my speed. Okay, let's run it again. Ah, there it is. Pow. Maybe you didn't see it there. Let's run it again. Pow. Alright, so that's definitely creating an object. Here, let's slow it down a little bit so you can see it better. I'm going to run it again. So there it is, headed at me. Bam. And of course I can jump over it also. Here it's headed at me. I'm getting ready. There, I jumped over it successfully. Cool. Alright, well of course we are not yet detecting whether or not it's hitting me or not. So let's put that part in. Collision detection is what this is called. So I have to think of a test that I can use where I'm testing the coordinates of my objects to see, is that thing hitting me, yes or no? Excuse me. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it in a series of tests. So first I'm going to check if it's far enough to the left. So if enemy x is smaller than my own x plus my width, because that's my right-hand side, and enemy x is greater than just x. So this is saying, is it horizontally inside me? Is the enemy's x-coordinate, and this is the center of the ball, so is the center of the ball smaller than my right-hand side, and is the center of the ball larger than my left-hand side? So now I'm going to say if enemy y is greater than my own y, and enemy y is less than y plus height. So this is saying, is the center of the ball below the top of my rectangle, and also is the center of the ball above the top of my rectangle plus my height, which is the bottom of my rectangle. So if all that stuff's true, I am hitting the ball object. So we'll say, again, I just want to make sure it works, so I'm going to put in a print statement that says hitting, so I can just see, is it detecting correctly? And then later on I can decide what do I want that to really do. Alright, so watch the output. Hitting. Alright, so it did successfully detect that I was hitting. Let's make sure that I can jump over it okay without it hitting. Watch the output. Didn't say hitting. Alright, so now that collision detection is working okay. I'm going to decide what I want to do here later, I think. For now, I want to be able to reset the enemy, because it's not very much fun if the enemy goes off the left-hand side of the screen and then that's it. So I'm going to create some code right here that says reset enemy. But I don't want to reset the enemy all the time. I want an if statement to test, is it the right moment to reset the enemy's position and speed? Because the idea is, once it's off the left-hand side of the screen, I want to reset it so that it's off the right-hand side of the screen. And to the user, that's going to look like it's just a new enemy. So if enemy x is less than, I'm going to make it less than -15, so that it's like, it has to travel a little bit off the left-hand side before it resets. So if that's true, I'm going to reset the enemy's x-coordinate to be, again, about 630. I'm going to add a randomness factor. So I'm going to reset it to be 620 plus math dot random times 30. Done. Because remember, math.random is between 0 and 1. So when I multiply by 30, it's between 0 and 30. So this is setting my x-coordinate to be at 620 plus anywhere between 0 and 30. And the reason I'm doing that, I'm going to cast it to float. And the reason I'm doing that is because it's going to add a little time delay, a little time variability. So it won't be the exact same amount of time every time after it goes off the left-hand side before it appears on the right-hand side. Alright, I'm going to reset my enemy. You know what? I'm going to say enemy y equals enemy y plus math.random times 10 minus 5. So the enemy's y coordinate is going to go either up or down by 5. Somewhere in there every time. So that's a little bit more variability. And I'm going to say enemy x speed is going to be minus math.random. It's going to be between, let's make it between 0 and 8. Okay. So let's review the code again. So if I'm off the left-hand side of the screen, I'm going to put my x-coordinate on the right-hand side of the screen. I'm going to change my y-coordinate a little bit just to make it look a little bit different. And I'm going to set my x speed to be some random value, but it's still negative, which means I'm still headed to the left. Let's run it and see what it looks like. So there's ball number 1. Ball number 2 came a lot faster. Oh, ball 3 is very slow. We might want to give them a minimum speed. That seems like not very interesting. I want to jump. Cool. Cool. All right, maybe I'm actually going to stop there for the moment because you've got something that you can play around with a little bit now. I think great things to do would be to replace all of these shapes with actual pictures of interesting looking things. I think a great thing to do would be to add a scoring system or a countdown timer in the upper left to create a sense of urgency. Play around with it a little bit and see what you can do, or come back next time to see how we can clean this up by using objects.